Let me ask you a question that may unsettle you. If every spreadsheet vanished tonight, if every process failed tomorrow, if every product copied perfectly, would your business still matter to anyone? That question exposes a system we pretend not to see. Business is not built on numbers first, it is built on people first, and when we forget that, growth becomes fragile. Here is the hook. What if the real reason companies fail is not strategy, not competition, not technology, but a slow erosion of trust that no dashboard can measure? That idea should make you uncomfortable because it means success is deeply human, and humans are messy. At the beginning, business feels simple. Someone has a problem. Someone else cares enough to solve it. A handshake, a promise, a relationship. Money follows value, and value follows care. Early teams talk, listen, argue, laugh, and protect one another. Performance rises because people feel safe to give their best. Then scale arrives. Systems replace conversations. Metrics replace meaning. Efficiency replaces empathy. We reward results without asking how they were achieved. Slowly, quietly, we teach people that numbers matter more than they do. When fear enters, honesty leaves. When pressure rises, ethics bend. And we call it normal. But humans do not stop being human at work. Our brains are wired for belonging. When leaders create environments of trust, people cooperate, innovate, and take responsibility. When leaders create fear, people hide, hoard information, and protect themselves. Same people, different system. Consider a leader who walks the floor, learns names, listens without interrupting, and keeps promises. People will run through walls for that leader. Now consider a leader who only appears in meetings, speaks in targets, and disappears when things go wrong. People will do the minimum, not because they are lazy, but because they are human. Advanced thinking asks a harder question. What are you optimizing for? Short-term numbers or long-term loyalty, transactions or relationships? Because loyalty compounds, trust compounds, culture compounds, and culture, more than strategy, decides how people behave when no one is watching. So if business is always human, leadership is a responsibility, not a rank. It is the courage to put people before profit, knowing that profit will follow. Build humans first, and the business will endure. This is the work. It is slower, harder, and braver. Yet it is the only path that survives change, earns trust, and turns ordinary teams into extraordinary forces. Even when markets shake, products fail, and certainty disappears, because people remember how you made them feel long after profits. Here is a harder question than before. Would people still give their best if they knew you would never notice? That single question exposes whether your culture runs on fear or trust, compliance or commitment, survival or belonging. Most leaders believe motivation comes from bonuses, pressure, or targets. It does not. Those things create motion, not devotion. Motion looks productive, but devotion creates resilience. When people care, they stay late because they choose to, not because they are afraid. That choice changes everything. Think about the last time you felt truly trusted. Your shoulders relaxed, your thinking expanded, you spoke honestly. Trust activates parts of the brain that allow creativity and cooperation. Fear shuts them down. Yet many organizations unknowingly design fear into their systems and then wonder why innovation dies. In early stages, leaders sit with their teams, they ask questions, they listen. Decisions feel personal because they are. As companies grow, leaders retreat behind layers. Emails replace conversations. Policies replace judgment. Humans become resources. And resources are optimized, not cared for. Here is where the system breaks. When people feel like resources, they act like commodities. They trade loyalty for opportunity. They give effort equal to what is measured. They stop caring about the mission and start caring about themselves. Not because they are selfish, but because the environment taught them to be. Advanced leadership requires restraint. It means resisting the temptation to control and choosing instead to create conditions. Conditions where people feel safe to admit mistakes. Conditions where leaders absorb blame and give away credit. Conditions where values are not posters, but behaviors practiced under pressure. Consider a team facing failure. A fearful leader asks who caused it. A human leader asks what we learn. One question creates silence. The other creates growth. Same situation, different outcome. The difference is trust. When leaders protect their people, people protect the organization. That protection shows up as loyalty, honesty, and discretionary effort. You cannot demand those things. You can only earn them. Business becomes extraordinary when leaders understand this truth. Every policy, every meeting, every metric sends a signal. The question is simple. Are you signaling that people matter or that numbers matter more? Answer honestly, because your people already know. They feel it every day. And if you choose courage now, you can change the system. Speak first. Listen longer, protect people under pressure. Do this consistently and trust will return. When trust returns, performance follows quietly, steadily, and stronger than any fear-driven success ever could. Build something enough to last beyond you, your title, and legacy. Let me challenge the story you were taught. What if accountability is not about punishment, but protection? That single shift changes how leaders lead and how people show up. Most organizations say they want accountability, but what they really enforce is blame. Miss a target and fingers point. Make a mistake and silence follows. Over time, people learn a dangerous lesson. Do not speak up. Do not take risks. Do not be honest. Just survive. The system trains behavior whether leaders intend it or not. At a basic level, accountability should mean clarity, clear expectations, clear values, clear responsibility. When people know what good looks like, they can aim for it. Confusion creates anxiety, and anxiety kills performance faster than incompetence ever could. Humans perform best when the rules of the game feel fair and visible. Now move deeper. True accountability requires safety. Safety to say I do not know. Safety to say I made a mistake. Safety to challenge decisions without fear of humiliation. When leaders punish honesty, they reward hiding. When leaders reward honesty, they uncover problems early, while they are still small. Think about a team that consistently wins. It is not because they never fail. It is because they fail fast, learn fast, and trust one another enough to speak the truth. That trust does not appear magically. It is built when leaders go first. When leaders admit their own mistakes out loud, they give permission for others to do the same. Here is where accountability becomes advanced. It is not about enforcing rules. It is about upholding standards while caring deeply about the people who must meet them. You do not lower the bar. You widen the bridge. You coach, support, and develop instead of threaten and replace. Consider two responses to failure. One leader says, "This is unacceptable, do better or else." Performance may spike briefly, but fear will linger. Another leader says, "This matters, and I believe you can do better. How can I help?" That belief changes how people see themselves. People rise to the expectations of leaders they trust. When accountability is human, people take ownership without being asked. They hold themselves to high standards because they feel respected. They correct each other because they care about the team. They protect the culture because it protects them. This is not soft leadership. It is disciplined leadership. It takes courage to care and strength to stay consistent. But when accountability is built on trust, not fear, something remarkable happens. People stop working for approval and start working for purpose. And that is when organizations become resilient, adaptable, and worthy of loyalty, even in moments of pressure, uncertainty, and inevitable change. What if culture is not what you say in meetings, but what people feel on Sunday night? That quiet moment reveals the truth of your leadership more than any mission statement ever will. Culture begins with behavior, not slogans. People watch what leaders do when results are under pressure. Do leaders listen or dictate? Do they protect their people or protect their image? Do they keep promises when it is inconvenient? Every action teaches others what is truly valued. At a basic level, culture is shaped by consistency. When leaders act one way on good days and another way on bad days, trust erodes. Humans crave predictability because it creates safety. When people know how leaders will behave, they can focus on their work instead of self-protection. As organizations grow, culture often becomes accidental. New hires learn by observing, not onboarding. They notice who gets promoted, who gets ignored, and who gets blamed. Slowly, norms form. Not because they are written, but because they are rewarded. This is why culture is never neutral. You are always building one intentionally or not. Now move deeper. Strong cultures are built on belonging. Belonging is the feeling that you can be yourself without risking exclusion. When people feel they belong, they share ideas earlier, challenge assumptions, and support one another under stress. When belonging disappears, politics appear. People choose survival over service. Consider a leader who asks for input and genuinely uses it. That act signals respect. Compare that to a leader who asks for input but has already decided. That signals theater. People know the difference. One builds trust, the other breeds cynicism. Advanced culture work requires courage. It means confronting behavior that violates values, even when that behavior delivers results. A high performer who destroys trust costs more than they produce. Allowing that behavior sends a message louder than any speech. It says results matter more than people. And once that message spreads, culture collapses quietly. Think about teams that endure crises. They are not bound by contracts. They are bound by care. Members step up for each other because they feel seen and protected. That bond is built long before the crisis arrives, in everyday moments of fairness, honesty, and empathy. Culture is not about making people happy. It is about making people feel safe enough to be brave enough to speak up, brave enough to admit mistakes, brave enough to try again. That bravery fuels innovation, loyalty, and long-term success. So ask yourself this. If you left tomorrow, would the culture protect your people, or would it expose them? The answer tells you everything about the system you have built. And if the answer troubles you, remember this. Culture can change the moment leaders choose courage over comfort and humans over numbers. Let us talk about pressure, because pressure reveals the truth of leadership. When numbers dip, deadlines tighten, and fear creeps in, do leaders squeeze harder or stand steadier? That choice defines whether people feel used or valued. At a basic level, pressure is unavoidable. Markets shift, competitors appear, mistakes happen. The problem is not pressure itself. The problem is how leaders transmit it. Pressure passed down without care turns into stress. Pressure absorbed by leaders and translated with clarity turns into focus. Same pressure, different experience. Many leaders believe their job is to push harder, push faster, push longer. But humans are not machines. When pushed without support, they burn out or break. When supported under pressure, they grow stronger. This is not opinion, it is biology. Stress hormones shut down learning and empathy. Safety chemicals open them up. Think of a leader who says, "This quarter matters, and I know it is hard, and I am here with you." That sentence alone lowers anxiety. It tells people they are not alone. Compare that to a leader who says, "Failure is not an option, figure it out." One creates unity. The other creates fear. As organizations mature, pressure often becomes normalized. Long hours are praised. Exhaustion is worn like a badge. Leaders call it commitment. But commitment without care becomes sacrifice without meaning. People give until there is nothing left, then quietly disengage or leave. Advanced leadership reframes pressure as a shared challenge, not a personal threat. It asks better questions. What do you need? What is getting in the way? What can we remove so you can do your best work? These questions signal partnership, not control. Consider a team facing an impossible deadline. A fear-based leader demands more hours. Output rises briefly, quality drops, resentment grows. A human leader prioritizes, negotiates scope, protects recovery time. Output may be slower, but it is sustainable. Trust deepens. Performance stabilizes. When leaders consistently protect their people under pressure, something remarkable happens. People volunteer effort when it truly matters. They step up in crises without being asked. They take responsibility beyond their job description. Not because they are told to, but because they want to. This is the paradox. When people feel protected, they work harder. When they feel threatened, they work narrower. They avoid risk. They avoid ownership. They avoid honesties. The system determines the behavior, so pressure is not the enemy. Indifference is. Passing pressure down without compassion is a choice. Absorbing pressure and translating it into purpose is leadership. If business is human, then leadership under pressure is the ultimate test of character. And people will remember, long after the crisis ends, who stood with them when it mattered most. Let us talk about loyalty, because loyalty is not something you demand, it is something you earn. And the moment leaders forget that, they begin to lose people long before anyone resigns. At a basic level, loyalty comes from feeling seen. Not managed, not measured, seen. When people believe their leaders know them as humans, not headcount, something shifts. Effort becomes personal. Pride increases. Work stops being just a transaction of time for money. Many organizations confuse loyalty with retention. They think if people stay, they are loyal. That is a dangerous illusion. People can stay physically while leaving emotionally. They do the job, meet the target, and give nothing more. The cost of that quiet disengagement is enormous, yet invisible on balance sheets. Think about why people actually leave. Rarely is it the company. Rarely is it the work. Most often it is the environment, a lack of trust, a lack of growth, a lack of care. Humans will tolerate hard work. They will not tolerate feeling disposable. Now move deeper. Loyalty grows when leaders invest before they extract, when they develop skills, offer mentorship, and create paths forward even when there is no immediate return. This feels risky to some leaders. What if we train them and they leave? But the greater risk is not training them and having them stay. Advanced leadership understands that people do not commit to companies. They commit to leaders and cultures that make them better. When leaders genuinely care about the growth of their people, those people repay that care with energy, honesty, and long-term commitment. Consider a leader who asks, where do you want to be in 5 years, and actually helps create steps toward it. Even if that path eventually leads elsewhere, loyalty increases, not decreases. Because humans remember who believed in them before they believed in themselves. Contrast that with leaders who hoard talent out of fear. They block growth to protect short-term results. That behavior breeds resentment. People may stay for stability, but their hearts detach. Innovation slows. Trust fades. Loyalty is also built in moments of difficulty. When life happens, illness, family needs, personal struggle, leaders who respond with flexibility and empathy earn something far more valuable than productivity. They earn devotion. People never forget how they were treated when they were vulnerable. This is not about being generous for image. It is about understanding cause and effect. Care creates commitment. Commitment creates consistency. Consistency creates performance. So ask yourself this: if your people had another option tomorrow, would they choose to stay because they want to or because they feel trapped? The answer reveals the strength of your leadership. In a human system, loyalty is not enforced by contracts. It is inspired by trust. And trust, once earned, becomes the strongest competitive advantage any organization can ever have. Let us talk about purpose, because without it, even success feels empty. And when people cannot see why their work matters, they will eventually stop caring how well they do it. At a basic level, purpose answers a simple human question. Why does my effort matter beyond today? Pay answers survival. Titles answer status. Purpose answers meaning. Humans can endure incredible hardship when they believe their work contributes to something larger than themselves. Many leaders think purpose is a sentence on a wall. It is not. Purpose lives in decisions. It shows up in what you prioritize when trade-offs appear. When leaders sacrifice values for speed or profit, purpose becomes decoration. People notice immediately, even if they say nothing. Think about the difference between doing a job and serving a cause. In one, people watch the clock. In the other, they watch the impact. One drains energy, the other renews it. Purpose does not remove pressure, but it gives pressure direction. As organizations grow, purpose often gets diluted. Layers add distance between action and impact. People no longer see the customer, they see reports. When that connection breaks, work feels abstract. And abstract work is easy to disengage from. Advanced leadership reconnects people to impact. It tells stories, not just strategies. It shares real outcomes, real customers, real lives changed. Stories remind people that their work touches humans, not just metrics. That reminder reignites pride. Consider a team told to increase efficiency by 5%. Now consider the same team told their work will help families sleep safer, businesses survive, or communities grow. Same task, different energy, meaning changes behavior more reliably than incentives ever will. Purpose also guides behavior under pressure. When people know why they exist, they make better decisions without supervision. They choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Purpose becomes a compass when rules fall short, but purpose must be protected. When leaders tolerate behavior that violates it, they weaken it. When they reward alignment even at a cost, they strengthen it. Purpose grows stronger when it is tested and upheld. This is where courage appears again. It takes courage to turn down short-term wins that damage long-term meaning. It takes courage to say no when yes would be easier. But every time leaders choose purpose over convenience, trust deepens. Purpose is not about motivation speeches. It is about clarity and consistency. It is about helping people see themselves as contributors, not cogs. When people feel connected to a cause, they bring more of themselves to work. Creativity rises, ownership increases, resilience strengthens. So ask yourself this: if you remove the paycheck, would the work still feel worthwhile to the people doing it? That answer tells you whether purpose is alive or just advertised. In a human system, purpose is the fuel that keeps people moving forward when enthusiasm fades and challenges multiply. Without it, even the best strategies eventually stall. Let us talk about trust, because trust is not built in big moments. It is built in thousands of small ones. And most leaders do not lose trust by doing something terrible. They lose it by doing something small and inconsistent. At a basic level, trust comes from reliability. Do you do what you say you will do? Do you show up when it matters? Do your actions match your words? Humans are constantly scanning for these signals. When they align, trust grows quietly. When they do not, trust erodes silently. Many leaders believe trust is soft. It is not. Trust is practical. It determines how fast decisions are made, how openly people speak, and how much energy is wasted on self-protection. In low-trust environments, everything slows down. Emails multiply, meetings expand, approval layers grow. Fear creates friction. Think about a team that trusts its leader. Conversations are direct, feedback is honest, problems surface early. Now think about a team that does not. People sugarcoat, they withhold information, they wait to be told. Same intelligence, different outcomes. As organizations grow, trust often becomes transactional. Leaders trust people only if they perform. People trust leaders only if they benefit. This conditional trust is fragile. The moment results dip, trust collapses. Human trust must be relational, not conditional to survive pressure. Advanced leadership understands that trust is built when leaders choose integrity over image, when they admit uncertainty instead of pretending confidence, when they tell the truth even when it is uncomfortable, when they explain decisions instead of hiding behind authority. Transparency signals respect. Consider a leader who says, "I do not have the answer yet, but I will keep you informed." That honesty builds trust. Compare that to a leader who avoids the question or offers false certainty. One creates calm, the other creates anxiety. Trust also grows when leaders are fair, not equal fair, when standards are consistent, when favoritism is absent, when consequences apply regardless of rank. Nothing destroys trust faster than double standards. Humans will forgive mistakes. They rarely forgive hypocrisy. Here is the deeper truth. Trust is biological. When we trust, our bodies relax, our minds open, collaboration becomes easier. When trust disappears, stress rises and thinking narrows. Innovation dies not because people lack ideas, because they fear sharing them. This is why trust must be protected deliberately. Broken trust cannot be repaired with words alone. It requires changed behavior over time. Apologies matter, but consistency heals. So ask yourself this: if your people spoke freely today, what would they say that they are currently holding back? That silence is the cost of lost trust. In a human business, trust is not optional. It is the foundation everything else stands on. Without it, strategies fail and cultures fracture. With it, ordinary people achieve extraordinary things together, even in uncertainty, even in chaos, even when the path forward is unclear. Let us talk about courage, because every human system eventually tests it. Not loud courage, not heroic speeches, but quiet courage in daily decisions that no one applauds. At a basic level, courage is choosing people over convenience. It is easier to stay silent, easier to delay a hard conversation, easier to accept bad behavior because it delivers results. But every time leaders choose easy over right, the system weakens. People feel it immediately, even if they cannot name it. Many leaders believe courage means having all the answers. It does not. Courage means standing firm in values while admitting uncertainty, saying this matters even when the outcome is unclear. Humans trust leaders who are honest more than leaders who are flawless. Think about the courage it takes to protect someone who made a mistake instead of sacrificing them to save face. That single act sends a powerful signal. It says, you are safe here. And when people feel safe, they take responsibility instead of hiding. As organizations scale, courage becomes rare because risk increases. Decisions affect more people. Visibility grows. Fear of criticism rises. Leaders begin to choose popularity over principle. But leadership is not about being liked. It is about being trusted. Advanced courage appears when leaders challenge systems they inherited. Systems that reward speed over ethics. Systems that praise exhaustion. Systems that silence dissent. Changing these systems invites resistance. Yet without that courage, culture stagnates and talent leaves. Consider a leader who stops a meeting to call out disrespect, even when the offender is powerful. That moment shapes culture more than 1,000 speeches. It teaches everyone what will and will not be tolerated. Courage also shows up in patience. The courage to invest long-term in people when short-term gains tempt shortcuts. The courage to grow slowly rather than scale recklessly. The courage to say not yet instead of yes too soon. Here is the deeper truth. Courage is contagious. When leaders go first, others follow. When leaders admit mistakes, others speak honestly. When leaders defend values under pressure, teams defend each other. One brave act multiplies across the system. But courage has a cost. You may lose approval. You may lose opportunities. You may lose people who prefer comfort over integrity. That loss hurts, yet what you gain is something stronger. You gain a culture that can withstand storms. So ask yourself this: Where are you choosing comfort over courage right now? What conversation are you avoiding? What behavior are you tolerating? What value are you compromising quietly? In a human business, courage is not a personality trait. It is a practice, a daily choice. And every time leaders choose courage, they reinforce trust, strengthen culture, and remind people that they are worth standing up for. Because in the end, people do not follow titles. They follow courage they can believe in. Let us bring this home, because everything we have talked about leads to one simple truth. Business is not about what you build. It is about who you become while building it. At the beginning, most people chase success, revenue, growth, recognition. And there is nothing wrong with ambition. The danger appears when ambition outpaces humanity, when winning matters more than how you win, when progress costs trust, when results are celebrated but people are forgotten. Over time, leaders are revealed not by their vision statements, but by the environments they create. Do people feel safe to speak? Do they feel protected under pressure? Do they feel proud of how success is achieved? Those answers define your real legacy, not your titles or numbers. Here is the advanced realization. Every system you design eventually designs the behavior of the people inside it. If the system rewards fear, you will get silence. If it rewards speed without care, you will get burnout. If it rewards trust, courage, and belonging, you will get ownership, loyalty, and resilience. Think about the leaders who changed your life. Not the smartest, not the loudest. The ones who believe in you when it was inconvenient. The ones who listened when others dismissed you. The ones who stood by you when mistakes were made. That impact lasted longer than any bonus ever could. Now understand this. You are that leader to someone else, whether you realize it or not. Someone is watching how you behave under stress. Someone is learning what is acceptable by observing what you tolerate. Someone is deciding how much of themselves to give based on how safe you make them feel. The future of business will not be decided by technology alone. It will be decided by trust, by leaders who understand that performance is a human output, not a mechanical one, by organizations that build cultures strong enough to hold people together when uncertainty rises. This work is not fast. It does not always look impressive. It requires patience, humility, and consistency. But it lasts. When strategies fail, humans adapt. When markets shift, trust holds. When change arrives, strong cultures bend without breaking. So here is the final question, and it matters more than the first. When people talk about your organization years from now, will they talk about what you achieved or how you treated them while achieving it? Because numbers fade. Products evolve. Titles disappear. But the way you made people feel stays with them. Build a business where people feel safe, seen, and valued. Do that and success becomes sustainable. Ignore it and no strategy will save you. Business is always human. And when leaders remember that, they do not just build companies. They build places where people can do the best work of their lives.